Welcome back to the Open Mic Broadcast Network. It is SWAC football time again, and that means we have on the line Coach Heiss Northern. Coach, how you doing today, sir?
And I'm doing well, enjoying this a little bit of a stretch of cool weather, and ready to get back to some SWAC football. I had a good weekend, not a great one, but I know I told you I was gonna take Adam to high school day at Southern. And, we got a lot of information that he needed and that I needed and knew a little bit already, and then enjoyed I was telling people, man, that's the best, worst football game I ever been to in my life.
Explain, Coach.
Well, if you looked at it just from a aesthetic point of view, it wasn't high-quality play. I think both defenses, you can say, played well, but you can also attribute that to the lack of offensive production by both sides of the ball. Southern's quarterback finished, I think, like 5 or 25, and I don't think he had 75 yards passing. And then Texas Southern had some plays go their way from their quarterback that, like I said, couldn't happen again if they tried. And just Southern just, couldn't really move the ball until they needed to late in the ball game. And there was some questionable, I say, calls from, the officiating. It was one situation where Coach Dooley was out to the hash mark trying to call a timeout. They didn't grant him the timeout, and Southern's defense could see him on the field. They stopped playing, and Texas Southern scored a touchdown. Then late in the ball game, no, this was in the third quarter. Texas Southern is going in to score, and they probably on about the 3 or 4 yard line. And out of nowhere, the PA system at Southern by the scoreboard makes this loud noise on 4th down. Well, Texas Southern center snaps the ball, hits the quarterback in the head, and Southern recovers the ball, and that was a big difference in and not only the momentum of the game, but the outcome of the game, because the game ended up going to overtime.
Okay. Now, depending on who you ask, some going to say that was some home cooking. Some going to say that was flat-out cheating. Some going to say a coincidence, bad luck. I don't like to lean on those things. I like to let your play go out. I have this old school saying that when you go on the road, expect anything, because anything can happen, and in most cases does happen. As far as Floyd was concerned, I think he had 58 total yards. I saw that, and I was kind of scratching my head on that myself.
Yeah.
But when you look at, you say the best, worst game you ever seen, and I probably caught a little heat earlier, but it is what it is. They had the special teams player of the week, and I believe that young man who nailed that 54-yard field goal to send it into overtime should have got special teams player of the week. That's just my opinion.
Well, like I say, that's what made it good, because the game stayed close, and down the stretch, Southern's defense scored with about 5 minutes in the game, and it looked like Coach Dooley, I'm not just going to call him Dooley, but it looked like Coach Dooley was getting ready to pull Flood from the game and put in another quarterback. Well, Texas Southern quarterback fumbles the ball, and they had been running the ball pretty good. He is about to make the tackle, and somebody on his team knocked him off of the defensive end, and the defensive end ends up running it in for a touchdown. So that made it be a 3-point game. Then Southern's defense got back out there, and they made another stop, and they tried to push the ball down the field a couple times, but when that guy walked out there, it was people standing by me like, do you think he can make it? And I was like, I know he can make it, because he had been kicking his kickoffs pretty much out of the end zone going in that direction. And when he, it's just a matter with that kid, all of his kicks, even his misses, are pretty close sometimes. And I said, just get it up and give yourself a chance. And lo and behold, he made the kick. And, man, it still was about 8 seconds left in the game, but it's people running over there like Southern had won. the other thing that was funny to me, Mike, I'm down on the field with Adam throughout most of the game. Southern comes back, and they're on our end of the field doing overtime where we stand most of the time. And, man, when they scored the touchdown, I'm jumping up and down celebrating. I look for Adam. He's nowhere to be found. So I'm like, Adam, did you run out on the field? That mother said, absolutely. He had a ball down there. So, it was like he was a part of the team. He's running around, shaking hands with the players and all that type of stuff. So it was good. The high school day turned out to be amazing, but the game, like I say, it was the worst game playing-wise that I ever been to on both sides. But like I say, just the excitement, the closeness, the one play made a difference throughout the game. And it wasn't like the defenses were playing that good in spots, but it was some hits, Coach, that I might not have been looking at the game, but I heard some hits. Like it was one hit early in the game, and I thought somebody literally had shot a .22 caliber pistol when Southern defensive end hit Texas Southern quarterback. It was some clacking going on. It was an intense game though.
Well, that's what you like to see, especially at this time of the year. Now, Southern, they're finding ways to win. And when you read the local papers, they're still a little disgruntled in that area. They have a tall order coming in this week taking care of Alcorn. Alcorn is like a shark in the water. They're smelling blood, and they are circling around. And this game is going to be so huge as far as the balance of the West that remains. What do you see going to be some key factors coming up between these two?
It's going to be a battle of who can run the ball the best. And that's what it comes down to, who can run the ball when they want to run the ball and the other team knows that they're going to run the ball. So I think it's going to be a good one. Like I say, those schools are only 2.5, maybe 2 hours apart. I think the Jaguar Nation is going to travel pretty decent, maybe not as good as they normally would, but it's going to be a good game up there in Longman, Mississippi. Like I say, it's a good place to play. They have a nice field, nice stadium, nice campus, and it's going to be a good one to see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we had some other games that went throughout the conference, but none as exciting as that Texas Southern and Southern matchup. And once again, your heart has to go out for Coach McKinney. These guys were in control for, I'm going to say, 98% of the game, Coach. But then there's an old song that says 99.5 just won't do. You got to start from start to finish. What do you say to your team? What do you say to your staff as a coach in a situation like that?
Well, it's a life lesson. Like I said, I know Reggie Flood that does the Southern University, the Jaguar Journal radio show. So a good bit of the game, he and I were standing together. And when Texas Southern had the lead, I literally told him Texas Southern might find a way to Texas Southern this thing if they don't score when they had the other chance to score. So, I just was telling people, man, like, sometimes I just think it's in their head, by their, I mean the players, because they were, in my opinion, they were in position to make some plays. Like I say, the quarterback fumbled the football on one of those running plays where Southern actually scored a defense touchdown. And Southern had over-pursued on the play. The quarterback easily probably was going to get 20 yards at a minimum if he and the running back don't fumble the exchange. And it even on the touchdown that they scored in overtime, 3 kids had a chance to make the tackle and make Southern have to make another play, and 3 of those guys missed the tackle. But it just was, as a coach, you feel bad for the other coaches. You feel bad for the players because, like I said, I think it's almost like a mental roadblock of what's going to happen next instead of what are we going to do to make sure, who's going to make the next play for us, instead of that negative mindset of who's going to mess up. It was bad looking at it. And like I say, and I feel for all coaches, but in particular, what was going on with Coach, knowing that in my opinion, they called a good game. They rushed for over 300 yards, and you lose a football game. You don't see that happen much, or if at all. And just for those guys to lose the way they did when they had so many chances, like they got in the red zone a few times and came away with nothing. And it's just bad for those guys. Like I say, even when they had something good happen for them, it was like that'll never. Texas Southern quarterback was running the ball, fumbled it, picked it up, and had a chance to throw it away, which really saved them a lot. It could have called it, but it was just like some things happened. You're like, what is going on in this game?
Yes, sir. No doubt about it. We're talking with Coach Heiss Northern of our SWAC Football Weekly Conversation. Now, Coach, back to Alcorn just for a moment. Looking at the standings, as we mentioned, they are shark in the water smelling blood right now. Not to get premature, if they can find a way to beat the Jags on Saturday, you can almost give them an 80% chance of winning the West because they've taken care of Grambling head-to-head. They've lost to Prairie View. However, Prairie View, which we'll talk about in a little bit, seem to can't get out their own way. Do you think, as a coach, do you bring this up to your team or you just want to stay focused? Let's focus on the old, as you all say, the old hum and drum. Let's go 1-0 this week. Or is there any extra juice flowing around in that Brave camp right now?
I think they got to feel good about themselves because they control their own destiny. So anytime you can sort of dangle that carrot, like, look, man, we don't need help. So, everybody else looking for more victories or spoiler role, let's go out there and help out. Let's do something for ourselves. I used to joke with guys, look, man, we going to be Republicans. You got to earn everything you're going to get. We ain't giving you nothing. Ain't no food stamps. Ain't no welfare. Ain't no Social Security. You got to go out there and get it, or you got to come out. You got to come and take it from us. We're not going to give you anything. We're not going to help you beat ourselves. So that's what all going to have to do. Go in the mindset of, we're not giving away anything. So you better go somewhere else if you want some help.
Yes, sir. Now, the thing that's fascinating to me, Coach, about Alcorn and how they operate, Fred McNair, I think highly of him as one of, not only just a SWAC coach, HBCU coach, but as a football coach. This guy has turned water into wine on many occasions, not trying to be, funny for anyone that may be listening, but the budgets are not at the top of the food chain in the conference. Some of the conditions that they have to practice and work upon are not top flight, but they find a way to stay competitive even in down years. And that's got to be a testament to the mentality of Coach McNair, the mentality of his staff, and the mentality of his players, how they gather and rally around him. Now, you've had a chance to compete against him and conversate with him. The times I've had to speak with him, very humble man, reserved man, but he has a fire burning deep within.
Well, the thing about Coach is more than him being a good coach. Like, everybody I talk to talks about how good of a dude he is. Like, if you haven't worked for him, he is somebody that you would actually like working for. The other thing is he has pride in the school because his name means so much in Mississippi. That last name can carry a lot of weight. So that's a couple things that he has going for him. Being a good person, he's going to keep. He might not always have the best athletes, but he knows the athletes that he needs to be successful at Alcorn. Also, too, one thing that people don't think about is the junior college system that they have in Mississippi can be very lucrative at times. And also, the admission standards at certain schools lend to keeping good sports programs. To, like say, they don't have the same GPA requirements that some of the schools in the conference have. Not that they are below NCAA standards, but they can get a lot of guys in school that might not be able to go to, say, a Prairie View or Florida A&M, and that helps your football program a lot. Or they may have what they call slots, where they say, Coach, as long as these guys meet eligibility standards, they can get in school, even if they don't meet the quote-unquote requirements at X institution. So, but like I say, everybody I talk to talks about how good of a person he is. And I actually, when I was coaching high school ball, I had a chance to go over there and work for him, but it just, it just didn't work out at the time. But, good person, like say if he was in the room, you wouldn't know he was there. Then the other thing, like say, you wouldn't know who he was and how good he actually was. Like some people walk around talking about what they did when they played. Man, he's just in the room like a regular guy. And if you ask him something, he'll talk to you. But other than that, he's just a good person.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And he's been consistent. You got to add that word. He shows emotion when things don't go the way he thinks they should go, but he's been very consistent and humble from my vantage point. Now, we can't forget about Grambling. Grambling mathematically still alive, but they got a bit of a challenging road ahead of them. They're going to take on Texas Southern this week. They then have Pine Bluff and, of course, the Bayou Classic. Right now, if I were a betting man, the real horse race is Alcorn Southern, but we got to mention Grambling because they're mathematically still alive. How do you see them matching up, and will Texas Southern still be carrying that baggage from Southern and show up with 4 flat tires this weekend?
Well, the thing about it, you'll know how Texas Southern feel based off how they come out the first quarter. If you look at the first quarter and it's a 7-7, 14-14, Texas Southern ready to play. But also, Texas Southern still going to have in the back of their mind that what can go wrong. Grambling look like their defense playing a lot better, but Texas Southern quarterback can run the ball. He's not a real big kid at all, but he can run the ball, I would say, a little bit above average. Texas Southern running back, you better get him before he gets started. And he's a good kick returner, too. So their offense is playing pretty good. Texas Southern's defense was playing pretty good for most of the game. But it looked, some of the DBs had to have gotten hurt because they had some kids playing Saturday that I didn't see in the Prairie View game. But it just sort of didn't look the same. But they gonna go and play. But can they get over the mental hump of going? I think they're going to Grambling, if I'm not mistaken. But
yes, sir.
Can they get over the hump mentally and get focused and ready to play? And I like I say, it's one of those when you have a chance to go play against a SWAC blue blood, I think you have to get ready to play. And like I say, you can look at the score in the first quarter about halfway through the second quarter and tell what Texas Southern is a team that's looking forward to basketball season ready, or is a team that's still going to fight and claw for every inch they get, or is that the team that's going to show up?
Absolutely. And I guess, Coach, it's time for me to face the elephant in the room. FAMU, explosive on Saturday, wrap up the East with a convincing, sounding victory over Prairie View, 45-7. Personally, and I say this with all consciousness, probably one of the worst performances I've seen in a long time from Prairie View.
Well, I didn't get a chance to see any of that game. I wanted to at least get some bits and pieces of it, but I honestly didn't see it. So I can't comment too much. But just looking at the numbers, they struggled again on the offensive side of the ball, and then on the defensive side of the ball, they gave up some big plays, which, like I say, sometimes that's gonna happen, but it's like they not finding a way to get out of their own way on either side of the ball. I think everybody thought that their offensive line was gonna play better than they had been playing, but I had spoke with Coach Fredericks after I saw Florida A&M's defensive line play against Southern. I was like, I don't know what you're going to do with them 2 big defensive tackles in there, but I saw them guys get double-teamed on several plays, and they did not budge at all. They not only are they big kids, but they play with good leverage. They play with good technique. They use their hands well. They what we call hip into a double-team. When they feel that double-team coming, they just, sort of squat their body down and get turned into that double team, and you're not moving those guys. So that makes their linebackers better than I'm not going to say better, but they good athletes, but it makes it easier for them to run to the football when you have a double team and you can't come off of that double team to get to the next level. So that makes their defense play better. And then if you got those two big defensive tackles, you got a good defensive end on one side that's pretty good, not just good, but it's pretty good. That makes it easier for you to say, well, I don't have to blitz. I can sit back and play cover 2, cover 4. I can mix my coverages up. And now that's going to give you problems throwing the football as well. Not only can you run it, but you're going to have problems trying to read and see, are we playing quarters? Are we playing trap? What defense are you actually looking at if we give you a good pre-snap read? So it was just problems all over the board for the Panthers.
Yes, sir. The key turning point was Panthers going in the first half, down 14-7, coming toward the final moments of the first half. A big interception that was turned into 7 by FAMU to make it 21-7, and they never looked back after that. 453 total yards of offense for FAMU, and I don't care what level you talk about, Coach, that's getting it done. And the question is this, and it's not being ugly, throwing stones, whatever, but it is what it is. Do we go to the point that maybe we overestimated what Prairie had, or they're underachieving? What if there's an answer to that?
It may be a combination of both, because you have to remember now they were picked, 5th on the western side.
Right.
Then they started off, they beat Texas Southern, a game they could have easily lost. Then they beat Alcorn, played Grambling close. You could easily say they could have won that game or lost it, even though the score at the end doesn't indicate it. But it's just one of those, sometimes when things get to going bad, guys trying to do other people's jobs. And I'm talking about from a player standpoint instead of doing what they've been taught to do. And I know when you get, I've coached against Coach Simmons, once that offense get the rolling, he gives you so much eye candy with the motions and the high motions, the different personnel groups, the screen game. It can make a guy, if you're on the defensive side of the ball, wonder, like, what in the heck am I supposed to do? I thought this was my read, and they did this, and he going to find a way to make somebody wrong. And once they get it going, it's hard to stop. So it's just one of those, let's get back to the basics. Let's find a way to stop the run first and foremost, and then everything else will take care of itself. So it's a combination of overestimation as well as just not performing in certain instances. And like I said, I don't know the injury situation. Have they lost anybody, in particular on the defensive side of the ball? Because, the last few games they have not been playing good on the defense side of the ball. But, it can be attributed to a lot of things.
Yes, sir. And it's homecoming week for Prairie View. The weather has dipped. It seems that the interest has dipped. And there are a lot of potential, let's just say, hazards of getting in the way mentally of this week's event. We know it's about execution. We know it's about staying focused. But it's a hard sell this week. Prairie View must win these final 3 games just to be a game over 500, Coach. PV Nation is kind of down right now, and we know that spills over. I'm concerned, is it going to be a spillover in this week's game for homecoming? Yeah, people are going to be on the campus. That's no doubt. Well, are people going to show up to the game? And I know that doesn't make a difference, but it does make a difference in a way.
I think it does make a difference if you go in there and it's a packed house. I think that, like say, the old saying is when you playing on the road, that should be a 7 to 9 point plus for the home team. But if you on the road and nobody's there, that may even things out. Or if you on the road being Pine Bluff and you got people in the stands and they just sitting there, they don't have any effect on the game. So it's all those types of things that like I say, as a fan and as a student athlete, that you look forward to it's homecoming, you're expecting a big crowd. But if the big crowd is there and they just sitting there, they just sitting up there talking about, something else, then, they're not really helping the football team, if you understand what I'm saying. I'll just say, having been in Baton Rouge over the weekend, I think, it might have been 19,000 at the game, but at different points in the game, I had a hard time having a conversation with somebody that was standing 3 to 5 yards from me because of how loud it was when Texas Southern was on offense a couple times. So, they can make a difference in the game. They can make a difference, especially for the defensive side of the ball. So, hopefully they'll come and go to the game. Like I say, I think as HBCU athletic directors and presidents, we almost need to say, hey, man, if you're coming on campus for the game, you need to buy at least a general admission ticket instead of saying, okay, you're going to pay $20 to come and park with a car with 6 or 7 people in it, but hardly any of them are going to the game. We got to find a way to get some more of that revenue into the athletic department because there's people everywhere. We have a family friend who her first year coming to Prairie View's homecoming was last year, and she had a chance to walk around with me, and not like I'm a celebrity, but when she saw how much some of the people, or how well the people were treating me, her daughter's a freshman at Prairie View, how well they treated her and her daughter, and she went to Purdue as her undergraduate institution, and she was like, man, I haven't seen anything like this. And guess what? She has already made plans. She's coming to town Friday to be at Prairie View's homecoming. So, like I say, people love the atmosphere. We got to get them to love the game and being a part of the game.
Well, hold on, Coach. Is she going to come to the homecoming or is she going to go to the game?
No, she's gonna be at the game. Like, she's bought a ticket and everything.
Okay, good.
So well, like I say, her daughter's in her second year at Prairie View, but like when she came last year and like I say, walking around, man, it was funny because I think we probably ate, 5 that we stopped at one place, they had gumbo. We stopped somewhere else, they had fried fish. We stopped somewhere else, it was red beans and fried chicken. We stopped somewhere else, it was barbecue. So she was like, man, I done ate everything down south that there is to eat in these 10 to 15 minutes everywhere we stop. So, and she just enjoyed the environment, and she had a chance to meet. When people saw me, it was different, even teachers and department heads, and I was telling them who she was and introduced. Oh, if she have a problem, come see me about this. Or we got this scholarship opportunity. So she just really enjoyed that part of it, and just like the black unity, wasn't no fighting, no shooting, all that type of stuff. So she was really impressed having to see that firsthand.
Yes, sir. No doubt about it. Once again, we're talking with Coach Heiss Northern, our football guru. Coach, I already figured the game of the week has got to be Alcorn Southern, right?
I think so. I think that's going to have to be. I'm not sure who Alabama State has this week, but that was a pretty big game, a big win for them last week. I don't, like I say, we already know Florida A&M has wrapped up the eastern side, but it's still a chance for them to, finish with maybe that one loss on that side, and that, like I say, stick a feather in their hat, and then have some pretty good recruiting, because with what they have stadium wise, and they have a pretty decent infrastructure from what I understand, in terms of, some people that are willing to give some guys some NIL deals and all that. They could make some noise moving forward in the conference.
Well, Alabama State is actually facing off against Jackson State this week at Jackson State. And that should be an interesting game. It's a battle for second place. And I know that it's going to be highly contested. But as you mentioned, it's going to be a noteworthy game. But right now, all the drama is unfolding in the West, as we were anticipating a few weeks back.
Yeah, I think, like I say, that Alcorn Southern is going to be top, along with, you still have to, anytime it's division standings on the line, with Prairie View still playing and Grambling playing the Western Division opponent, all those games can mean something, And like I said, you don't want to drop one that everybody thinks that you should win, and then you end up having a chance where woulda, coulda, shoulda at the end of the season, and you looking back at a game that you lost this weekend and saying, man, if we wouldn't have done that, we could have been in the championship game.
Well, here's a woulda, coulda, shoulda for you, Coach. Alcorn, if they beat Southern, okay, would actually help Prairie View. We talking about if it coulda, shouldas, right? If Grambling loses to who does Grambling play? Texas Southern.
They got Texas Southern.
If Grambling loses to Texas Southern, that helps Prairie View. You know I'm leaning toward Prairie View, right? So that means Prairie View would have to beat Pine Bluff this weekend, which is highly doable. Okay? Then, as they say, the rest of the story, Prairie View has to find a way to go to Baton Rouge on the Bluff to beat Southern. Okay? If Prairie View can beat Southern and Southern had lost to Texas Southern, then the Bayou Classic won't matter as much, but you would want Southern to beat Grambling if Prairie View can beat Alabama State on the final day. That's a whole bunch of if, coulda, shouldas, Coach.
Hey, you need a spread. You need a spreadsheet to figure all that out. Hey, you know what? Actually, Texas Southern plays Jackson, and Grambling and Alabama State play this weekend. So we got to.
Okay, you got a little picture.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, either way, it's the unfolding still works out the same.
Yeah, like you say, you got to sit there and get another degree in math to figure out who's still alive and if such and such helped me. And we talked about it at the beginning of the season. It's gonna be some Southern fans maybe cheering for Grambling and some Prairie View fans cheering for Texas Southern this weekend. So it like I say, it makes some strange bedfellows depending on who you need to help you win the Western side.
Absolutely. And there's another note that we got to add into all of this too, Coach. Texas Southern and Alcorn's game, which was scheduled for November 11th, has been moved to November 12th, which is on a Sunday, which is because of the Houston Dynamo, who they share the same field with at Shell Park, with Texas Southern, have a playoff game. So who knows what can happen? Maybe an angel of mercy will fly by to help Texas Southern. Now, who knows, man? But whatever's going to happen, we're going to be there to watch it unfold. Now, Coach, it's time for you to get on your storytelling smoking jacket and share one of your stories with us this week, sir.
Mike, I'm gonna tell you about I guess how I got into college coaching, and one of my job interviews that I thought was sort of crazy. So, I've been knowing Coach Williams for a long time. Doug Williams, former Super Bowl MVP, former head coach at Grambling, and I was on the sideline at a Southern football game. Didn't have a sideline pass at all. And the police were running me off the sideline. And Doug said to the lady, like, do you know, like, almost like, do you know who that guy is? It's like one of y'all former football players. Y'all doing him like that? And he said, let me get a minute to talk to him. So he stopped me and was like, hey, what you got going on? He said, I might have a job. At this time, he was a scout with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He said, I might have a college job coming up. And if you're interested, I'm going to touch bases with you. So I said, yeah, definitely. So we exchanged numbers then. Then I am at a high school basketball game in Baton Rouge, and Coach just so happens to be at the game. So he says, like, hey, man, this job thing may really be happening. He said, give me the best number to contact you. And he said, I should know something by Tuesday. Now, this was a Friday. So I'm coaching girls basketball at my high school. Tuesday, I get home, and my mom says, like, hey, have you talked to Doug lately? I said, no. He said he's going to call me Tuesday night and let me know if he's going to get the job and what is my role going to be. So my younger brother, who, played football at LSU, NFL, he knows Coach Williams very well as well. my younger brother said, man, how many people you think Doug told he was going to give a job to? You think he going to give you one? and you went to school at Southern and he played at Graham. Mike, 5 minutes later, the phone rings and it's Doug on the phone. And he said, look here, man, I got the job. He said, it's not the Grambling job. He said, it's the Morehouse job. He said, now you're going to have to be a full-time coach. They don't have a grad school. So, you know, that was like a more of a blessing. So when I walked back in the room, my mom was like, who is that on the phone for you? That was Doug. You know, then I could see her perk up a little bit. You know, what did he want? Did he say that, you know, you didn't get the job? Like, no, he told me I need to be in Atlanta the first week of February, basically. And, you know, he wanted me to make some recruiting trips. So that's how I went from look, I was coaching high school girls basketball with my sister on the basketball team. And things just worked out because I was sort of in the right place at the wrong time or the wrong place where I wasn't supposed to be. But like I tell Adam, man, sometimes you need to walk in a place like you belong there and people won't say anything to you. But the lady did, but it just so happened Doug sort of came to the rescue. Now, another time, when I sort of had made a little bit of a name for myself, I get a call about a head coaching job. So I was still at Prairie View at the time as the assistant coach. So guy calls, he's like, hey, I want you to come up, look at the university, look at the field house, all this kind of stuff. So I'm driving to the place. So I get stuck in a little bit of traffic and say, hey, I'm going to go by the hotel and change clothes. So the guys, I say, man, I have on a Prairie View warmer. I don't feel comfortable walking around another school's campus with another school's clothes on. He say, look, man, I got on a warm-up suit, too. So I go up there, meet him in the field house. You know, he shows me around, shows me the locker room. We talk about an hour. So I guess once he gets off he and I finish, you know, the tour, he calls the bigwig. And the bigwig, you know, calls and said, like, hey, I want you to meet somebody. They're going to pick you up. We want to talk to you. So I'm in a place that I have no idea where I am. So as I'm riding with the guys in the car, I'm texting my wife like, hey, we turning on this highway, we turning on that highway, and we stopped like in a little, like a truck stop area. And I'm like, man, what in the world am I doing with my life? I'm texting my wife because I can't talk on the phone with the people driving like, hey, we going here. So lo and behold, the guy that's the quote-unquote big wig shows up, and he has on flip-flop slippers. He has on like some $5 warm-ups from Walmart and a T-shirt with a hole in it. And I said to myself, like, and this is a college job, no lie. This is a college job. And I said, you know, I always say to myself, like, what the hell am I doing with my life fooling with some stuff like this? And, you know, just to say, I didn't get the job. I sort of didn't want it after that point. But I'm like, man, I wonder if some of these other coaches have to go through, like, doing all this back channel stuff. Nobody knows you in town. Nobody knows what's going on. And I can imagine some of the stuff that goes on at some of these bigger schools, where they just send their agents and all that. You know, they sort of take a job sight unseen. And I always had a thing. Even when I was assistant coach, I would never take a job having not been to the university that I was going to. And it has cost me some college football jobs. Like, guys like, look, I need to know, do you want the job now or no? And I was like, tell them, hey, man, I haven't even seen the place. Especially if I'm going to be away from my family, if I might even be sleeping in the office once I get there. But I will just let me see if I'm going to sleep in the office, let me see what my office that I'm going to be sleeping in going to look like. So it's, you know, it didn't cost me, but at the same time, I was wondering, like, what in the hell am I doing with this quote-unquote big wig with flip-flops, jogging pants, and a hole in his T-shirt on?
Hey, man, just like old Sam Walton, he was meeting folks for $1 billion deal. He showed up in a hunting shirt with dog hair all over it, sitting at an elegant reservation-only restaurant talking about, I'm starving, let's order food. So it don't matter what you look like in all times, which go back to my uniform theory, but I'm not going to get on that right now. If you can execute, you'll get it done. Well, Coach,
Yes.
I appreciate you, man, and I hope you're having as much fun as we're having. This season is going so fast. Want to give you some closing thoughts and comments right now as we wrap this week's segment up.
Hey, like we said at the beginning of the season when we started talking about this Western Division, it's gonna come down to somebody with 2 or 3 losses. Like I said, I don't know what the numbers look like, but it's gonna be 9 times out of 10 a 2-loss team that needs help from somebody else. So, like I said, everybody that's a fan of Alcorn, Grambling, and Prairie View, you better make sure, and Southern for that matter, you better make sure you're putting something a little extra in the collection plate these next couple of weeks, because, like I say, you still have a chance. It's almost like a Powerball chance, but you still have a chance to win it all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, we'll keep our eyes glued, ears pressed, and fingers crossed for whichever said team that will be the last man standing from the West. He is Coach Heiss Northern, our football guru here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Don't forget you can follow me on X at the Mike Prince Show. Subscribe to the YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. And do visit our website for our 24-hour stream at obnradio.com. And until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.